What's up, you guys? We are here for our weekly manifestation oracle message. Hope you're doing well. Ooh, wow, that was intense. Let's see. I'm just gonna bring all these cards back and keep shuffling because that's too many. Too many. All right. What do we have? Had an unexpected night off. So I went for a nice little walk, listened to a podcast. Ooh, one of the cards that fell out, Lady of the Mirror. Reflections and non-judgment. So we are in the 12 days of Aries. Today is like the manifestation of the energy of Virgo. So maybe, not being overly perfectionistic or not being overly critical with yourself or others, or, maybe finding a place of non-judgment, but also maybe, there's a tendency to like shrink the self or hide or make the self quiet, and a fear of like speaking up for the self because maybe we don't know how to do that in a way that is courageous or strong or kind. And because maybe we haven't been able to like practice like setting those boundaries or like speaking up for ourselves before without it being like in, a like dramatic situation playing out, right? So maybe we have a fear of speaking up, and so maybe it has cost us something. And, we have been overly, trying to overcorrect or whatever to avoid that. And so I know for myself today, I was in a situation where I was going to have lunch with my mom, and I was scared that she was going to bring up these certain topics, and one of them having to do with my dad. And I really didn't know how it would play out, and I was just praying for the strength to handle it better, to handle it the way that I was being led to handle it, to correct my tikkun, know whether or not to say anything, or know how to say the truth, or how to speak the truth kindly and firmly without making someone feel defensive or combative. And so that seemed to play out. All of the things that I feared would come up did. And I feel like I was able to navigate that with some kind of success and speak my truth, and it not create like a triggered situation like that sets off a domino effect, if that makes sense. And so I think that, having taken a step back, trying to prepare myself in self-reflection and non-judgment before I went into that situation, to ask for God's help and guidance, to do it the best I could, to help me be less selfish, but also not put myself in the path of destruction either. Be able to set boundaries that protected myself, but that still weren't disrespectful or dishonorable, right? So maybe you're having a situation like that come up for yourself, like with your tikkun correction, and how you kind of navigate some of the like branded struggles that you have in your life. We all have like a few main flavors of challenge that we face, that each of us face, and they're hidden within our natal chart. And so they have to do with your like the astrological signs, and there's certain key tikkuns that are associated with each sign. And they're not far from like the things that you would learn about the astrological sign, but there are some other deeper layers to it that Kabbalah teaches. But if we can begin to see those and try to meet that situation with intention and openness for God to direct the direction and the way that the energy and the situation plays out, without getting our ego involved. Like if we can just be open for that, to that influence, and ask for help, the help does come. The help does come. The air is aggressive right now. Lots of things are in bloom. I just had like this like aggravated throat, like little sinusy, like it's just been like all day. Ooh, the Swan Queen, transformation, intuition, and patience. So this really is a very transformational time. Over these 12 days, we can really plant seeds that are going to affect our entire year ahead. And wow, you know, the month of Virgo is such a powerful month to plant a good seed for, because that's the month where we do Teshuvah and we prepare for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that spiritual new year, that spiritual sort of judgment day and reset. So I think that we are in a time of transformation. I think things really are changing. I think it's just that there's so much change that's happened on the inside, and now we're so far ahead of what our current physical circumstances reveal. And so we just have to give the universe time and space to catch up and fill in the gaps of where we are energetically and how things are playing out and coming together materially. Just remember, there's all these other people involved and all these parts and moving pieces. So, you know, we have to wait for the process to play out and be patient and believe that there's a bigger picture that we can't quite see. We don't have that vantage point, and there's, you know, beautiful things stirring behind the scenes that we don't yet see coming. So take heart that transformation has happened on the inside, and we feel a shift, and we feel a difference. And as we start showing up, you know, as this new reborn self, our life will bit by bit start changing and start shifting. Ooh, the Lady of Lightning. Yes, she reminds me of like 70s metal music. I love this. Surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. See, it's like this, the paradigm is shifting. You know, there's even reports, like people are talking about like noticing glitches, right? And noticing differences even in the timeline that we're in. And it's like maybe the CERN is messing with the timeline with their Hadron Collider. Maybe part of it is that we're quantum leaping into, you know, new realities, new timelines, and everything is converging in this big lightning storm of metaphysics. There have been like 4 meteors hit the earth this like in the last 6 or 7 days. It's crazy. So, you know, space, everything's popping off right now. But I do think that shifts are happening, and I think that things are going to start suddenly like taking us by surprise, and we're going to have surprise shifts. Even something really small the other day, I burnt like a fire in my fire pit on the first day of spring, sort of like a ritual cleansing fire. And it's like after I burned a bunch of stuff, I came in, I had like this different dishwashing liquid. Like usually I get Dawn because Dawn's the best, right? They use it to clean oil off penguins. But I wasn't really feeling, this is so stupid, but I wasn't really feeling like it was really cleaning my dishes. And then I had kind of like not impressive memories with the Aldi brand of dishwashing liquid, because the liquid itself was a bit thin. It wasn't like as thick and heavy as the Dawn liquid, but they were out of Dawn the last time I was at the store. So I got this like apple smell, green, off-brand dishwashing liquid. And when I came in, I ran some dishwater to do some dishes, and it was like everything was so glistening clean. Like my old beat up pots were looking brand new, and I was like, wow, like everything's changing. It's like in a Disney movie where the curse has been lifted, and then all of a sudden everything has like its sheen back again and this shine. But yeah, just even small things like that are giving me like little, it's like winks from the universe that are just funny. It's just like really like like not exactly something to live for, but thank you, you know. Surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. I mean, they just came out this week and last week and recently talking about aliens and, you know, the other thing with like Gerald the dolphin and his pod of dolphins like kidnapping that one dude and making him work on that underwater construction project, which may or may not be true. Like, I mean, it's anybody's guess at this point. I've always been not surprised if I were to find out that there are underwater like advanced kingdoms going on, like maybe in like a portal through into like another dimension. I don't know. It would not surprise me, right? But psychics have been, you know, claiming to be channeling messages from extraterrestrials for years now, and the Galactic Space Federation. And like, I think it was like the administration came out and they were like, yeah, we've been talking to the Galactic Space Federation and yeah, like we know them. And oh, it was like there was also some Israeli dude, an Israeli intelligence, and he was like really, really old. He was like almost like, he was like at the end of his days kind of old. And he's like, well, now that I'm old enough and I'm retired, I want to tell y'all that we've been talking to the Galactic Space Federation. So talk about sudden paradigm shifts and shock and awe. I mean, have you been to 2026? Like, can you go here? Like, it's like this year of shock and awe. So, well, very exciting. Well, we look forward to it. Let's see. I'm craving like just some boring days, like, you know, not much going on, watching like something off of the BBC that's like sleepy and boring, like a Midsummer Murder, you know, and just peaceful times. But, you know, those are nostalgic memories. The Spirit Whisper, divine guidance, higher knowing. I love this. So this week, things that we have been wanting to take shape, I think, are on the verge of clicking. Like, it's like we are one little notch away from things falling into place. And it's interesting because I was sort of like laying down with my eyes closed, listening to the podcast done this week by the director and his wife, the two directors of the Kabbalah Center, Michael and Monica Berg. And their spiritual, their podcast is called Spiritually Hungry Podcast. They were just talking about tikkun and tikkun correction. And they were saying, like, you know, maybe you are like very, very, very spiritual and having like putting in all this effort, like, you know, 95% of the week. But like for a couple of hours every week, you really struggle with like your anger or like with this one thing that keeps coming back. But it's just like for these 3 hours a week. But those are the 3 hours a week that you like, it's so loud. Like that's your tikkun. Right? If we can identify that thing that it always comes back and we like struggle with that thing every, you know, it just keeps repeating. See, it won't let us go. It won't let go until we correct that thing and figure it out. And it'll keep showing up in relationships and at work and, you know, in this place and that place. And it'll just keep getting louder and be persistent. Right? So what Michael was pointing out is that it could be that the rest of your life is going great, but you just had like this, there's this one like sore area for you. And the Satan loves that because the Satan will focus on supporting that 95% of being satisfied that you're a good, spiritual, hardworking person. And have you focused on that? And Michael brought up, he was like, the Bible says don't take bribes. And what that means on a deep spiritual level is don't take the bribe that this is good enough. That, oh, well, you know, I'm spiritual 95% of the time, but, you know, in these few instances when it really counts the most, like I slip up there, but, you know, I'm good otherwise. So, like, you know, I'm probably good. It's like, no, it's like non-negotiable. There's no settling. You know, I'm not taking the bribe of good enough, you know, and the Satan wants us to be distracted and feel like, oh, you know, I'm mostly good. And it's like the whole point of our soul coming on earth is that 3%, 5% of the time that we're struggling with that issue. Like that's our main purpose for coming to earth. It doesn't matter all the other spiritual goodness that we do through the week to give and share and whatnot. He's like, that doesn't even count because that's not your assignment. It's like going through life, you know, doing everything but what you came here for. So he's like, if you can focus on that 5% that you struggle with, it's like everything else will probably open, the floodgates will open. So we have had very kind of pinpointed, readings recently about areas that we need to hone in on and certain things coming up into our attention. And so I think that if we can really reflect on that with non-judgment, but with real compassion with ourselves, okay, look, this is my assignment. I don't have to beat myself up over this. I'm just supposed to figure out this problem. It's like in math when you had those word problems and you had to read it and you had to really kind of use your critical thinking and strategy and so it's like sit with it in non-judgment and then let the divine guidance and higher knowing guide you, right? Don't let the ego's voice is going to get in there and try to start swaying you and manipulating you. But we want to listen deeper below the surface to that divine guidance, the spirit whisperer, that higher knowing that will inform, right? Because what we're doing is with that non-judgment and with that reflection, we're having an earnest heart, a sincere heart that really wants to change, really wants the transformation, intuition, patience. So having the patience to sit in that reflection without wanting to run away from it. Look at this. They're both sitting at the edge of the pond, right? They're both reaching out to touch the water. But the Swan Queen right here, she's in like, okay, so look, the first girl, this is like warm spring feeling, right? Like things are thawing out, things are coming to life. So it's like taking this moment in, right, where everything's starting to bloom, everything's starting to open up. So you start looking at these things that are starting to open up to you, right? But you don't want to rush through it. Because right, what's that energy of spring? It's like you want to bounce around, you want to be a social butterfly, be distracted, right? Instead, as everything's opening up, really sit with it, freeze, pause, have patience, sit with this. And don't rush through it. Don't rush through because it gets uncomfortable or you even get bored with it, right? Let it reveal what the message is. Sometimes I can get so bored going through my own issues, but it's like that is the ultimate work that will free up everything else. And so transformation, intuition, and patience. Intuition will guide you. You'll intuitively start to feel, okay, this is the tikkun, this is the subject, right? For me, I can really identify the assignments, right? There's a couple of main binders that have these people, the files, the people involved. We all each have our own files, right? And our names are in those files a million times too. So what is your tikkun? What is in your files, right? What is that thing you need to address? Your intuition will lead you there. Now, what you find out is going to have a surprising and like revelatory effect on your life, and it's going to shift the whole paradigm, right? Your whole way that you relate, your whole story arc is going to change. And those lightning strike moments, that's like Uranus, right? That's like that revolutionary, something that like turns the story upside down. You're like, whoa, plot point, plot twist. So total paradigm shift. Something is shocking. Something is surprising, but don't be afraid because we just had that message for the beginning of the week. I am your Hashem, your Elohim. I am the one who brings you out, right? So if God brings us out of a situation, God's also going to sustain us through the transition to our next point. But first, we have to cross that wilderness. We have to cross that unknown, right? And, the word certainty, it's weird because it's when Kabbalah talks about certainty beyond logic, it's different than when Christians say certainty is the enemy of faith, because they're both true. And this is what it means. Like, okay, so certainty is the enemy of faith, meaning that if you can't look at your doubts, then you have a defense mechanism, not faith. It's like certainty that's like, I'm putting on blinders and I'm just going to choose this and I'm putting on a helmet and blah, 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 you can't reach me. You can't change my mind. It's not listening to reason. It's not really trust, but it's a shield. It's a defense mechanism. It's bypassing. It's spiritual bypassing. But when you acknowledge your doubt, then it's like, it's not brave if you're not scared kind of thing. It's not real faith if you haven't wrestled with doubt and chosen faith even in the face of doubt. Kabbalah's certainty is not bypassing that doubt. Kabbalah's certainty is, whoa, I have awe of God. I don't know which way things will go. I do have doubt. I do have fear. I do have scarcity. And I am willing to be guided. I'm willing to be shaped through this. I'm willing to be transformed through this. But God, can you carry me through it? And I know you're going to be here, and I know you can reveal your light to me through this experience. But can you carry me through it? Can you hold my hand? Can you guide me? Right? Can you lead me through it? And we will get on the other side somehow. That is the Kabbalistic certainty. The certainty that we are not in the wrong situation. We did not take a wrong turn. If the path led you here, this was in your movie. And God can give you the strength and the wisdom to know how to meet the moment that you're in. You still have choices about how you navigate through the scene in the movie, right? But trusting that you were brought to this moment with and for a purpose, and you can get to the other side of it if you hold on to that belief that that this can be transformed into something that serves purpose, whatever it is. All right, that is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow for our weekly alchemy message. It was like not my usual days off, so I was like, what day are we on? Manifestation message. So tomorrow, our alchemy message, where we will look at the way that we're approaching like the lessons of the week and unpack like how we're doing the work and how we're dealing with it. All right, y'all, that is all for tonight. Peace. The flotilla, the same leaders or at least some of the same leaders who organized the flotilla, the global Samud flotilla that attempted to break the siege in Gaza. They actually sent a flotilla down to Cuba to try to break the U.S. naval siege. They made it through with humanitarian supplies like solar panels and food and things that can aid them, that will help alleviate their need of like it gives them they've been trying to deliver alternative power source that doesn't rely on oil. The U.S. has blocked oil into Cuba, and their entire structure is just imploding on itself. So it's getting really bad down there, and it is basically another genocide, just done in sort of a different way. Same tactics, but just different nuances. But anyway, the flotilla got through and were able to bring them aid, and there's an enormous reception, parades in the street, like singing and chanting and marching, and people with like flaming torches, and it was just something so amazing to see. So good things are happening too, and that was something very positive and a big win today. So happy to report that. Ciao.